In this video, I'm going to explain how we designed and implemented our hybrid predictor architecture. This is the model that is responsible for predicting and recommending champions during the draft. We decided to go with a two-model architecture, the first one being a transformer model that is trained on the 2 years of pro play provided by the grid data. The second one, we're using a Gemini large language model API, specifically Model 3, and we're feeding it some scouting reports from the teams. So if there are two teams going against each other, let's say T1 and Gen G, we're providing the large language model with these two reports. And we're using a dynamic weighting engine to actually decide what model to get more value from. So the transformer model is stronger in the end because it has more context about the full draft. And the large language model is designed to be stronger at the beginning because we don't have enough context about the draft, but we need to learn more about the teams and the players to actually recommend good champions. And we're using, for the transformer architecture, we're basically training the model to predict the best champion based on the sequence of draft. So the input is a sequence of champions where order matters, and the output is basically the champion's probability pool, given into consideration that we're not picking a champion from the fearless draft if it was a best of 3 or best of 5, and we're not picking from the banned champions. This is the data that we trained on. So as we can see, the most important part of the data is this part, is basically the step, the champion, and the champion class. We decided to go with the champion class because it adds more context to the model. And the model can now understand how champion class are picked and when in the draft are they picked. And this provides the model with more context to actually give good predictions. And just like any transformer, we needed to do some vocab. So the vocab is basically some of the steps as well as all the champions represented by numbers. This is basically how we trained the transformer model based on the data and the architecture. And let's just go to an example. So I have currently the draft kit open, and I already went with the T1 and Gen G, and I chose the roster. Now I can pick champions. So if I picked Vi, now the model recommends these champions. These are the recommendations from the model, and if we open the terminal here, we can see more details. So there are 4 columns to look at. Basically, there are the probability model, which determine the probability of the champion that's going to be picked. The higher the probability is basically the higher the model needs to recommend it. But we can also see some values like raw, nudge, and total. So the raw is the output from the transformer. This is what the transformer value output, basically the recommendation from the transformer. And the nudge value is the nudge from the LLM. And as we can see, as time goes on, basically as we move more into the draft, as we progress, the value of the nudge decays. And this is basically our innovative solution. We're not only using these two models, we're actually decaying the model LLM when the draft progresses and relying more on the transformer, and the transformer becomes stronger as time goes on, so it's anti-decay. And as we can see here, these are the recommendation champions, and now we can also look at the prompt that we feed into the large language model. So this is T1 versus Gen G, and I have this match open. Right now we are in ban phase 1, and blue team is banning, and we can see the draft so far. And because it's not yet updated, so the draft so far is empty. And we can also see the reports for both teams. So we have the full report for T1, and we have important information like most banned players, and we have the champions that are banned and the number of games that each champion got banned, as well as the roster and the win rate for each champion, for each player on what champions, and the number of games they played. This is very valuable to the large language model to decide what to actually recommend. Given this prompt as an input, we give it a task, and basically the task is to provide us with 2 lists, each list containing 30 champions in this format, where it's a name of the champion and the confidence. How confident is the model of recommending this champion? And this is the output. We basically see the blue candidates and the red candidates for each team, and this is the nudge value that we saw earlier here. And as draft progresses, we can keep prompting the model and banning champions that the model recommends. And as we can see here, the model stopped to think for a little bit, and this is where we're actually building our new prompt. As we can see here, the next phase started, so we provided the draft so far, and we see Varus, Nico, and Gwen. So this is Varus, Nico, and Gwen, and here we can see Vi, Yon, and Talia, and here we can see Vi, Yon, and Talia. And it takes some time because we're using Gemini 3, so it's a little bit slower than some other models like 2.5 Lite. As we can see, the new recommendation came through, and we can see the nudge value kept decaying and decaying, and the transformer value kept anti-decaying. And these are basically the picks, and the model recommended Azir as a first pick, which is obvious because it's open in blue side. We've always seen that in pro play. And the model now recommends players for Genji. And as we can see, the decay keeps going on. And of course, we can keep going with this until the full draft is complete. Thank you for watching.